They warned him not to go. Not on Halloween, not into the woods, not near the heart of the forest where the fog hung low and cold like a second skin, but Travis liked a dare. He stumbled through the brush with his flashlight jittering in and out of life. Beer sloshed in his gut. Behind him, the distant sound of drunken laughter and a crackling radio faded, swallowed by the trees. He was alone. The deeper he wandered, the quieter it got. No insects, no birds, just the wet hush of fallen leaves underfoot, and his own breath, loud and hollow. Then, snap. His head whipped around. Nothing. Then something shifted in the fog, long and slow, like it was waiting. "Cut it out," he muttered, aiming the beam into the mist. Then he saw it. 2 glowing red slits in the fog, too high off the ground, too still. Then it grinned. A wide, unnatural grin, too many teeth shining with black saliva. Travis didn't scream. It was more like a strangled breath before the black mist swallowed him. 1 second he was there, the next, gone. All that remained were his shoes, placed side by side. A trail of blood that led deeper into the woods. Moonfall Shadow, 1980. Fog crawled down the hills like it had a mind of its own. The trees stood too still. The air had a weight to it, as if the woods knew something was coming. 6 best friends huddled around a bonfire that hissed and spat in protest, red solo cups in hand, laughter trying too hard to hide nerves. Keely, Stacy, Shade, Jake, Every, Luna. A boombox blared a mixtape of The Cure, Susie and the Banshees, and eerie synth pop. Ghost stories floated between swigs of cheap beer, but it was Jake, always the instigator, who pulled out the paper. The chant. "Let's play the Boogeyman," he said with a smirk. Luna immediately shook her head. "That's not funny. You know what they say about this place." Jake snorted. "It's just a story. You call his name, chant the rhyme. He shows up if you believe it hard enough." Shade added, "No one's actually done it. Not seriously." Every chimed in, slurring slightly. "Unless you're too scared, Luna." Luna stood, shaking. "I'm not scared." "Prove it then," Jake said, pointing to the tree line. They forced her to stand alone, just beyond the firelight, just where the trees grew dense and unnatural. The moment she stepped out of the circle, the air changed. The warmth of the bonfire vanished, swallowed in a breath of cold that bit her skin and filled her lungs with ice. The silence was so complete it roared in her ears. She could feel the forest watching. Every branch looked like a hand reaching down. Every tree leaned in. Her legs were shaking. She looked back once. Her friends were little more than shapes in the fog, and even their laughter had died. "Just say it," someone called. She faced the woods, heart pounding. She opened her mouth and whispered, "Boogeyman, Boogeyman, dark as sin, open the door and let me in. Take my hand and steal my name. Come through shadow, come through flame." For a second there was nothing. Then the trees creaked. Then something behind her breathed, long and wet and wrong. She turned. Nothing. Then the laugh came. It didn't come from her left or right. It came from everywhere. The fog lifted off the ground like smoke. Her feet were pulled from beneath her. Fingers, cold, wet, hungry, wrapped around her. She screamed. The others watched, frozen, as she was dragged up into the swirling darkness, her body twisting and vanishing. Then, nothing. She was gone. The woods were silent again, except for the sound of 6 frantic footsteps crunching through brittle leaves, now 5. Keely vomited behind a tree, tears streaming down her face. Stacy was shaking. Jake kept muttering, "She's gone. She's just gone." Every paced in circles, pulling at his hair, while Shade stood stock still, staring into the trees where Luna had vanished, his face unreadable. No one knew what to do. So they ran. They ran all the way back to Shade's off-campus apartment, locked the doors, and collapsed onto his threadbare couch, blood still fresh on their palms from where Luna had cut them during the chant. Jake broke the silence. "We'd tell them she got drunk and wandered off." "No," Keely whispered. "No one's going to believe that. We have to tell the truth. We have to." "Tell them what?" Every snapped. "That we summoned the damn boogeyman like we were in a horror movie? They'll throw us in jail." "We make a pact," Shade said, his voice hollow. "Right here, right now. We never talk about this again." The room fell still. One by one, they agreed. Hands slid again. Blood touched. A circle formed. A vow made in fear, in guilt, in silence. The next day, the town exploded with flyers, phone calls, and search parties. Police swarmed the woods, dogs barking into the fog. They found nothing, not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing, not a trace of Luna. But Keely couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Luna's face, stretched in terror, swallowed by black mist. Worse, she thought she saw her in the corners of rooms, reflected in dark windows, lingering just behind her when she turned. Stacy started locking her bedroom door even during the day. Jake took his mattress and slept in the living room under every light he owned. Every stopped answering his phone. Shade said nothing, but his eyes were haunted. And outside, the fog never left. The paranoia began with shadows. Keely would feel it first, in the hallway outside her dorm. The lights would flicker, just faintly, just enough to notice. Then she'd feel eyes on her back, always on her back. She'd spin around, nothing, empty halls, echoing silence. But something was wrong, something lingered. One night, as she brushed her teeth in the shared bathroom, she glanced in the mirror and nearly choked on her own spit. For a split second, Luna was behind her. Wet, pale, eyes hollow. Then, gone. Keely slammed the door, her heart trying to escape her chest. She didn't sleep that night, or the next. Elsewhere, Stacy found her bedroom window wide open, though she swore she locked it. On the glass was a handprint, small, damp, smudged with black ash. Jake told Keely he saw someone standing at the edge of campus during the night, unmoving, watching. It was only when the person turned that he realized it wasn't a person at all. It was grinning. Every became obsessed with the chant. He scrawled it in the margins of his notebooks, humming the rhyme under his breath. Shade stayed silent, but his hands shook whenever the wind picked up. And through it all, Keely kept seeing her, in dreams, in mirrors, reflected in TV static. Luna's face, melted and angry. Every now and then, Keely would wake with bruises on her wrists, finger-shaped. Then the voice came, low, hollow inside her head. "I see you." Keely screamed and threw her lamp across the room. No one came. Moonfall Shadow had always been quiet, but now it was too quiet. Everyone seemed on edge. Whispers in the library, teachers acting jittery, pets missing, the fog thickening. It was like something had slipped loose from the woods and now stalked the town. Keely whispered to herself, staring at the mirror, her breath fogging the glass. I think she's still here, and she's not alone. The box was old, cracked wood, scorched edges, a faint scent of mildew and burnt sage. Keely hadn't touched it since her grandmother died, but now it practically called to her from the back of her closet. She lit a candle, just one, dim and flickering, casting long shadows on her dorm walls. Her breath came in shallow bursts as she placed the board on her desk and set the planchette in the center. "Luna," she whispered, "are you there?" The planchette sat still. The room grew cold. She asked again. This time, it jerked. Keely flinched. The planchette scraped across the board, painfully slow. H-E-L-L. Her throat tightened. It moved again. K-A-R-M-A. A pause. The candle flickered violently. T-E-L-L-O-R-D-I-E. "Oh God," she whispered, backing away. The flame turned blue. The planchette twitched, then spun rapidly, slamming off the board and clattering to the ground. The room filled with a pressure so thick it felt like drowning. Then a voice, right in her ear. "We are one now. He watches through me." Keely screamed and threw the board across the room. Silence returned, but the air was wrong, heavier, hungrier. That night, she dreamed of fire and fog and Luna's face twisted by something inhuman. The next day, Stacy didn't show up to class. No one could reach her. Her dorm was found empty, door ajar, with only her shoes left in the middle of the floor. And a single phrase scrawled in ash on the mirror. "Karma doesn't forget." They found Stacy's body 2 days later, folded neatly in the bathtub, eyes gone, skin pale and waxy like a mannequin left out in the cold. A trail of soot spiraled around her like a coiled snake, burned into the porcelain. There were no signs of forced entry, no screams, no struggle. Only that same phrase, this time carved into the tile with what looked like a fingernail. "Karma is here." Jake lost it. He called Keely in the middle of the night, sobbing, rambling about shadows on the ceiling, whispers in the vents. Said he'd seen Luna standing at the foot of his bed. "She was burning," he whispered, "but her eyes, they weren't hers anymore. They were his." Keely tried to calm him, but she was shaking too. Something had changed. The air in Moonfall Shadow had gone completely still, like the town itself was holding its breath. Every stopped showing up to campus altogether. Rumors said he'd boarded up his windows, that he slept with a knife, that he hadn't turned his lights off in over a week. Shade was harder to track. He'd gone off the grid. No phone calls, no sightings, only rumors. Some said he was hiding, others said he was preparing for something. Keely knew better. She felt the shift in her bones. The curse wasn't waiting anymore. It was coming. That night, Jake's dorm caught fire. The flames moved unnaturally fast, swallowing his room in a matter of minutes. When they found him, he wasn't burned. He was drowned. Mouth open, eyes wide, face blue, in a puddle of black water. On the walls above his bed, written in dripping red. "She gave her soul, you gave your silence." Keely didn't sleep for 3 days. Every day felt colder. Every face on campus looked haunted. And sometimes, just sometimes, when she looked into reflections, Luna smiled back. But it wasn't Luna anymore. It was something else. And it was getting stronger. Keely couldn't stay quiet anymore. The deaths were mounting, and something inside her, the guilt, the fear, the knowing, was about to rupture. She skipped class, skipped meals, locked herself in the campus library's dusty archives. She needed answers. It started with an article from 1884. Children vanish in Moonfall Woods. Locals blame the Boogeyman. The name jumped out at her like a scream. Each century had similar headlines, similar disappearances. Each time, it ended the same: one survivor, everyone else gone. But then she found something older, a photograph, a girl, pale, dark-eyed, her hand resting on a strange man in black standing half in shadow. She was labeled Kara M. The handwriting was faded, but when she traced her finger over the name, a chill climbed her spine. Karma. Keely read the legend beneath the photograph. Those taken by the Boogeyman do not perish, they change. The first was Kara M., a child stolen, remade into the Boogeyman's vessel of judgment. Each century, a new soul is chosen, transformed, forgotten. Keely stumbled back from the page. Luna hadn't just died. She had become Karma. That's why her reflection didn't look like Luna anymore. That's why the messages were growing clearer, more calculated, less emotional. Luna was gone. What remained was Karma, and Karma had a purpose. That night, Keely dreamed again. This time, she was inside the woods, alone. The trees towered like gravestones, and black mist clung to her ankles. She heard singing. Luna's voice, only deeper now, distant. Come through shadow, come through flame. She followed the sound until she reached a clearing and saw them. Stacy, Jake, Every, all standing motionless, faces blank, mouths open, their bodies twitching in rhythm with some silent song. Then Karma stepped out from the trees, not Luna. Taller, skin like melting wax. Her eyes flickered with fire, her mouth opened too wide. She pointed at Keely. Only one will remember, one must pay. Keely woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. She couldn't take it anymore. She had to find Shade before Karma did. Keely found Shade living in an abandoned cabin at the edge of town. She followed rumors, broken whispers from old classmates who said they saw him with a shotgun and dead eyes. It took days, but she found it. A crooked little structure swallowed by vines and fog. She knocked once, no answer. Twice. The door creaked open on its own. The inside was dark, reeking of mildew and burnt wax. Candles lined every surface, some burned low, some still dripping. A wall had been covered in newspaper clippings. Strings connected names, photos, Luna's face. I knew you'd come, Shade said quietly, emerging from the shadows. He looked hollow, gaunt, like something had been feeding off him. You know what she is now, he said. It wasn't a question. Keely nodded. She's Karma, and she's not done. Shade laughed, but it cracked mid-breath. I see her when I sleep, when I'm awake. Sometimes I think I hear her whispering through the trees, and other times I think maybe she's inside me. Keely stepped forward. We summoned him, Shade. We handed her over. We didn't just lie, we offered her. His eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean to. I didn't think it was real. A wind howled outside. The candles flickered. Shade's head snapped toward the window. Black mist was coiling in through the cracks. She's here, he whispered. He's with her. The temperature plummeted. One by one, the candles blew out. Keely backed toward the door, but Shade stood still, arms wide like he was welcoming something. "I deserve this," he said. "She knows. She remembers." From the darkness a shape emerged, tall, fluid, wrapped in shadow and wax. Her head tilted unnaturally, eyes like glowing pits. Karma. She didn't speak. She opened her mouth and let out a shriek of bending metal and screaming wind. Keely turned and ran. She didn't look back, not when the door slammed shut, not when the windows shattered, not when Shade screamed, once sharply, and then nothing. Back in town, the fog was thicker, lights flickered, and the radio in Keely's room clicked on by itself. A child's voice sang, "Boogeyman, boogeyman, dark as sin." Keely didn't go home. She sat on a park bench until morning, staring at the fog as it wound its way through the trees like pale fingers reaching for something warm. The shadows moved now, not just in the corners of her eyes, but deliberately, boldly watching her. She knew they were his, the boogeyman's, and she knew she was next. Campus was nearly deserted by sunrise, doors locked, curtains drawn. It felt like the town was hiding from something it couldn't name, but Keely could. She had a name for it. Karma. She found herself back in the library, flipping through dusty town records with cracked bindings and yellowing pages. It didn't matter anymore. She wasn't looking for escape, just understanding. She found a journal. Belonged to someone named Margot Vale, a survivor of the 1922 disappearances. The entry was nearly identical to her own experience. "We called him, we lied, and then we were hunted, not by him, but by what he made. She wore the face of our friend, but she wasn't her. She was judgment, and she came for us all." Another line was scrawled below in darker ink. "He needs her. He uses her. She becomes him until there's nothing left." Keely sat in silence. Luna was gone. Karma was what remained, and when Karma finished her task, he would rise again. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about feeding the myth, keeping it alive, letting the boogeyman walk free, one soul at a time. She whispered into the quiet, "I'm so sorry, Luna." The bookshelves groaned, the lights flickered, a presence moved behind her. She didn't look, she didn't need to. "Only one will remember," a voice hissed from behind the shelves. Keely stood slowly. Her hands were cold, her legs shaking. She walked into the fog, through the empty quad, past the chapel, toward the woods. She didn't know if she meant to end it or become it. But she went, and behind her, the campus speakers buzzed to life. Static, then a child's voice. "Come through shadow, come through flame." They found Keely's journal 3 weeks later. It was lying open in the middle of the college quad, pages soaked with dew and smudged in soot. No blood, no body, just a single handwritten sentence, scratched so deep into the paper it tore through the page. She remembered too late. Moonfall Shadow changed after that. No one spoke about the disappearances. The official statements were vague: runaways, transfers, mental breakdowns. But the students knew, the faculty knew, the town itself seemed to hold its breath. Fog hung lower. The woods grew darker. Sometimes at night, laughter echoed through the trees, a laugh too low, too deep, and always followed by that same soft song. Boogeyman, boogeyman, dark as sin. A janitor quit after claiming he saw a girl in a white dress watching him from the library shelves. A child went missing near the edge of the woods. A teacher vanished mid-lecture. Each time the same message appeared, carved in mirrors, burned into door frames, written in fog. Karma never sleeps. Some say Keely became the next vessel. Others believe she's still in the woods, wandering through the mist, trying to fight it. But if you ask anyone from Moonfall Shadow what happened that Halloween night in 1980, they'll go quiet and they'll tell you one thing. Don't say his name. The end. Or maybe just the beginning.